Holland was writing these weird harmonic songs for him. He could fit into this stuff, and he could really. I want you to talk about the burning Getz.
Stan came from Lester Young, and he came from Coleman Hawkins, Sonny Rollins. Remember, his contemporaries loved him. When Coltrane did a blindfold test, or when they asked him who his saxophone influences was, he said Dexter Gordon, Stan Getz,
That's right.
Coltrane.
That's right.
Okay?
That's right.
But in terms of rhythm, Stan was not just a romantic balladeer. He played that shit unbelievably. But he had this incredible momentum in his time feel, and was very modern. He played with a really smooth feel, and he could swing all by himself, and he had infallible form. I never heard him get lost once, ever. He had it in his DNA. And we were throwing all kinds of shit at him. And sometimes we played, people would sit in with us. Randy Brecker would sit in with us. Sometimes Dave would play, and Freddie Hubbard. And he could just play right after them. He was absolutely fearless.
Wait, Freddie Hubbard sat in with you guys?
Sure.
Oh, that's okay.
Sure.
Yeah, tell the story. You're going to say a story there? Go ahead.
I'm going to tell you a story because I want to tell the truth about Stan.
Yeah, do it.
Because I don't like these things where, like, okay, he was great, everything was great. He was great. He was one of the greatest, and I learned how to play a solo. I learned how to have a melodic conception. I learned how to develop a motive through a solo, so it wasn't just good licks. He would start with a very simple idea and leave a space and come back to it and then develop it like a great classical piece, and then he'd come back at the end and remember that it was like a composition. His fucking solos could be notated. They were great. And the sound of the horn, when he would play Lush Life, he'd go to the low note, the A flat, the bottom A flat, the whole room would vibrate. He had incredible control and amazing intonation. Your saxophone players, sometimes they get fucked up with intonation. It's a very hard instrument. And he was like, the way Michael Brecker could play the saxophone like nobody else.
Sure.
Stan was the original Michael Brecker in terms of the saxophone. There's always a guy in every generation that does that, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, here's the story. Stan was split personality, Jekyll and Hyde. He could be abusive. He could be a nasty motherfucker. He could really humiliate you. And the next minute, he would buy your whole family dinner and really help you with music. For example, I came on the band. I was young motherfucker, following Chick Corea, by the way.
Right.
And I was young and green. I was talented, but I had no experience. So he liked me enough and trusted me enough. So he would say, Richie, play a short intro to My Foolish Heart, set the time up. Boom. So I did. And I played an intro. I remember what it was. It was no good. It was just like an intro for a singer or on a club date. I was flustered. So after the gig, he said, play an intro. I want a statement. You could play whatever you like. Okay? I'm going to come in with the right note. You're not setting me up. I know what note it is. Play an intro that has a musical statement in it. So I said, wow, okay. So, this is learning on the stage. This is not like Berklee School of Music bullshit. So I'm doing it. Plus, I'm doing it every night, 3 sets a night. I have a chance to practice,
Oh my gosh, unbelievable!
So then it took me a couple of weeks, months, and I remember one night I really had it, and we played almost the same tunes every night. It wasn't like a big repertoire; it was like old school shit. We played the same tunes every night with different audiences, and you learn to be creative. It was like on a night-to-night basis. It was so fucking great. So I started to really be able to play statements about the intro to really set him up. And he liked it, and he would smile at me. And then he told me after, he paid me, and I said, so, everything's okay? He goes, your intros are beautiful. I really loved them. Good boy, I was like his son, So then we're working. Now I'm down with Stan for a year. And I'm making $600. which for 1972 was a lot of money.
600
remember,
a
the
week.
budget,
600
remember,
600 a week.
600 a week.
That's great. That's amazing.
It was pretty good.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Well,
yeah.
Stan made a lot of money, but Jack was making more, of course, and Dave Holland had 2 kids. So, but I didn't mind. I thought it was good. But then after a year, I said, "Man, I really should maybe get another 100." So I talked to the guys and I said, "What do you think?" He said, "You ask him. Go and ask him."
Right.
He says, "You're playing great. See what he says." So I go to his fucking suite, of course, and I go in and I say, "Stan, it's Richie." He says, "Come in." And he looks at my face. He looks at me and he says, "No."
Wow.
I didn't even have to ask him for a raise. He just said no. And then he says to me, "And by the way, your fucking intros are too long." Just like that.
Wow.
Psychotic.
I mean, you are waxing
cheap.
Really?
Cheap, motherfucker, because he was making, between $8 and $10 grand a night for himself, as well he should. We sold out every set, every night, every club. He was a major fucking star. Miles Davis, Art Blakey, Cannonball Adderley, Stan Getz Quartet, okay? Then Joe Henderson and Korea, Mahavishnu, Weather Report. We were like little guys there with Lookout Farm or Quest. We were just like, second tier. But these were the
whatever.
major stars.
Beirach you have moved into the top tier after. I mean, you are cooking right now. I love it hanging with you, man. This is the thing. You're because I know, but I mean, let's go back to this. Do you chalk it up to? You use the word psychotic, cheap. You don't believe that one of those cats like DeJohnette or Holland possibly made rumblings about it in advance. You just saw your face.
No, absolutely not. They were totally cool with me, and they could have been really weird, but they weren't. They treated me really good. Because Jack, Jack is 75 now. He's only like 5-6 years older. So they're like a little bit more than me. Not a whole generation, but they were already kind. It wasn't like Sonny did, abusing Stan and doing that the way those old cats used to cut each other. That was the thing.
What do you mean?
And
what do you mean by that? What do you mean by that?
I mean, there was a tradition of each generation making it really difficult for the next one, and the theory, like the theory was like, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Right.
Like, that was part of training. But that stopped. It stopped with that generation. They were fine with me. It was something, and I learned from that. I learned from, because, he put everything on the line. He said, "No, I'm not giving you a raise. And even if you do deserve it, I'm saying that you're not, because I'm Stan Getz." And the ugly shit came out, the ego shit, the maniacal megalomania. And then the next minute he would say, "How are your folks? How's everything okay?" He was very generous. I'm telling you, I don't want to say he was psychotic and cheap and egomaniac, because that was not him. But he was a combination, man. He was a combination, and it affected me. And you know what it is? It was all a lesson.
What was the lesson?
What was the lesson?
I should have
done. The lesson is, you don't go and ask for a raise for somebody unless you're ready to leave, because I had no leverage. Nobody came to see me. Nobody knew me then. So the lesson was, you want to get a raise, then you have to have a reason other than the music.
Wow.
I'm still like, I was idealist motherfucker. And so finally, I had to suck it in and go and play again for another couple of years, which, by the way, was fine because I was still learning. It's not like it was 1 year of college. I was still learning invaluable things from my own musical career, and it was like a fantastic foundation. It was like graduate school and a doctorate in 3 years with this motherfucker. Because in those days, you didn't just play a couple of gigs a month. We were out on the road for 6 months.
Right.
We come back. We go to Toronto. We go to Japan. We go to Hong Kong. We come back. We go to Australia. The world was different then. You can't go, half of those places you can't go anymore. There's no go, right?
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
We had a chance to see the world and not just one-nighters. We'd go for a week here, and you get to know the people, and we got to know each other. And after a while, Stan Getz he just became a person. He was a real person. And when you travel with somebody every day, when you're tired and when you're hungry and when you have a cold, and sometimes he would be sick when he was kicking alcohol, and you really get to know somebody, And I really loved him, and I still love him. It's just that he would sometimes be a fucking terrible pain in the ass. Like a grumpy old fucking uncle that would, wake up and his back hurt, and I'm going, "Hey, how you doing, Unc?" You go, "Fuck you, kid. Get out of here. Or go get me a beer." And then the next day he'd be like, "Hey, how you doing? You looking good. I saw you with a beautiful girl, man. You doing okay?" He was totally human, Stan.